calculus pa? Sino ba naka-invento nito?
Oo, ang hirap-hirap nga nun, bro.
Kaya nga eh.
Oo nga.
Kanina pag-exam, 1 out of 50 ako.
Dami exam namin. Oh.
Pero kilala mo si Blaise Pascal.
Sino ba yun?
Siya yung naka-invento nun according dun sa nabasa ko.
Hindi,
Talaga?
si Newton talagang may gawa ng...
Oo, si Newton talaga.
Si Newton? Kala ko
Oo,
yun.
tsaka si, Leibniz.
Baka si Descartes.
Hindi.
Hindi rin kasi
Si Wallis ata?
Hindi. Si Newton.
Si John.
Wait. Have you guys wondered where calculus came from? Let's see.
The invention of calculus must be considered one of the greatest achievements of mankind. All the dynamical physics, electricity, magnetism, and most of other scientific aspects of our life have been derived and explained.
These are the two well-known and famous mathematicians who has a great contribution in calculus. In the mid-160s, at the peak of this scientific revolution, Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day in 1642. He began his first experiments in optics in 1664. Eventually, he published his results 40 years later in 1704. The prevailing theory of the day was the calculus tree, Descartes' either theory. In his experiments, Newton correctly assessed the nature of color. However, in 1665, Cambridge was closed for 2 years on account of the plague black. Newton returned home to Woolsthorpe. It was there he began his studies that would lead to his first mathematical and scientific breakthrough. Though Newton himself reportedly recalled that his ideas of universal gravitation attraction was inspired by the falling of an apple from a tree, this story is generally regarded as a fabrication. Newton also wanted to work out why the orbits of the planets were ellipses. In the opening sections of the Principia, Newton had so generalized the clarified Galileo's ideas on motion that ever since we referred to them as Newton's laws of motion. Then Newton went on to combine these laws with Kepler's laws and with Huygens' laws of centripetal motion to establish the unifying principle in the universe that any two particles attract each other according as the inverse square law of distance. In 703, he was elected president of the Royal Society and assumed the role of Patriarch of English Science. In 705, he was knighted the first scientist so honored. Newton's mathematical work include power series, binomial theorem, fluxions, calculus, and the fundamental theorem, applications of fluxions to extrema problems, area problems, algorithms for the use of calculus, and a concept of limits. Moving on the second discoverer.
Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz. He was educated at the Nicolaus School. Though his father died when he was just 6 years old, much of his education came from his father's library. At the age of 15, he entered the University of Leipzig as a law student. It was the university he encountered for the first time the great master of science such as Galileo, Francis Bacon, Thomas Hobbes, and Rene Descartes. In 1672, on a diplomatic mission to Paris, Leibniz met and for the first time studied mathematics seriously with Huygens. As a diplomat, he made the 2 trips to London in 1673 and 1676, where it is possible he had access to Newton's manuscript. Only 10 years later, he began to publish short pieces on calculus. By 1685, Leibniz had worked out the foundation of both integral and differential calculus.
Over the years, the controversy between Newton and Leibniz as who discovered calculus. Newton first credited as a first discoverer and Leibniz was credited with the first to publish work. There have been both accepted as the independent discoverers of calculus. Here are some mathematicians who contributed to birth of calculus.
400 BCE Greek mathematician Eudoxus used a method of exhaustion to find the areas and volumes of shapes. He discovered The volume of a cone was 1/3 the volume of its corresponding cylinder at around 240 BCE. Archimedes developed this method of exhaustion, further to prove that the area of a circle is equal to pi r squared. He did this by drawing regular polygons inside a circle. The regular polygon had so many sides that have practically become the circle itself by coming up with the formula for the area of a circle.
Johannes Kepler, he is best known for his 3 laws of planetary motion. Kepler also worked in optics and invented an improved telescope for his observations. Mersine. Today, we mostly remember him for the Mersine prime numbers that can be written as 2n-1. He also studied acoustic and the harmonics of vibrating string and wrote about theology and philosophy.
Gerard Desargues, who was a founder of projective geometry. His work centered on the theory of conic section and perspective. Albert Girart was a French mathematician and musician. His work on trigonometry is the first to use the abbreviation sin, cos, tan.
Rene Descartes, the father of analytical geometry. This was one of the prerequisites which allowed Newton and Leibniz to invent calculus a few decades later. He is credited with the first use of superscript of power of exponents and the Cartesian coordinate system, and is named after Bonaventura Cavalieri, who developed a method of indivisible which became a factor in the development of the integral calculus. He is known for his work of problems of optics and motion, the precursor of infinitesimal calculus, and the introduction of logarithm.
Pierre de Fermat is given credit for early developments that lead to infinitesimal calculus. His method for finding tangents to curves and their maximum and minimum points lead him to be regarded as the inventor of the differential calculus. He is best known for his Fermat principle for light propagation and his Fermat last theorem and number theory. Evangelista Toricelli is credited with the discovery of the concept of the infinitesimal, which was a crucial step in the development of the calculus. Toricelli was a student of Galileo Galilei, and he built up upon Galileo's works in mechanics and mathematics to develop his own ideas and theories.
Franz van Schooten, who is particularly known for his work on the development of infinitesimal calculus, which was a major advance in mathematical physics and engineering. Also credited with introducing the concept of the limit in calculus, which was an important tool in the development of calculus. John Wallis, who is given partial credit for the development of the infinitesimal calculus. He is credited with introducing the symbol infinity to represent the concept of infinity.
Nicolaus Mercator published his Logarithm Technica, in which appeared the power of series for logarithm. Rene Desargues, best known for the curves, contribute to the development of calculus, and his work focused upon tangents, spirals, turning point, and point of inflection.
Blaise Pascal began working on his calculating machine in 1642. For 3 years, he worked to develop a working model. He is best known for Pascal's theorem, Pascal's triangle, Pascal improbability, and cycloid. John Witt, he was one of the first to apply calculus to the study of motion and use it to solve problems in mechanics and geometry. He also made significant contributions to the study of infinite series, which led to the development of the Taylor series. Witt's work on calculus helped lay the foundation of many of the principles and theories that are still used in modern mathematics.
Johann Hudde worked on maxima and minima and the theory of equation. He gave an ingenious method to find multiple roots of an equation. Christian Huygens, who invented the pendulum clock, which greatly increased the accuracy of time measurement. He studied law and mathematics privately with Franz van Schooten, University of London. The first probability text, 1657, was written. He covered truly the division problem.
Isaac Barrow developed a method of determining tangent that closely approached the method of calculus, and he was the first to recognize that integration and differentiation are inverse operations.
What is calculus? A branch of mathematics that deals with the finding and properties of derivatives and integrals of function. By methods originally based on the summation of infinitesimal differences. The two main types are differential calculus and integral calculus.
Ano, ribong lawit.
May magsabi na!
Bakit ka tawa?
Have you ever,
The first probably text na putol.
Puputulin